All right, now let's move on to the first discussion on the program this morning. Eid el Fitr is the earlier of the two official holidays celebrated within Islam. The religious holiday is celebrated by Muslims worldwide because it marks the end of the month-long dawn to sunset fasting of Ramadan. We have in the studio Abdul Razak Olayode and an Islamic commentator who joins us to talk about the significance of Eid al Fitr today. Thank you for joining us in the studio this morning for the break.
It's my pleasure. You're welcome.
All right, now let's talk about this day, how significant it is to our Muslim brothers and sisters in the world. In local parlance, we hear Karamin Salah, Babban Salah. So if you may, just give an explainer on how significant this day is and how different is it from other festivities.
All right. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The significance definitely is because we have gone through a training for 30 days. You know, going through a training is just like going into the university system for 4 years, 5 years, like that, So, and after graduating, there is need for celebration. So this Eid is just like a celebration. It is a day where you joy and you rejoice. You understand? So the significance is coming together after this rigorous exercise, after this rigorous spiritual activities that you have gone through for 30 days. So there's a need to relax your nerves. There's a need to enjoy yourself. There's a need to come close with families and friends. So that's another significant because you will have to come close with family and friends, meet together, try to build kinship together. So this is another significant to let you people come together, your family, or else go greet them if they are so closer to you. Or else you can equally make a call and say, Barka de Salah here, Barka de Salah there. That's another significance. Again, another significance is also a day where you praise the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it is said that when you leave your house to the Eid, you just keep saying Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Walillahil hamd. So you praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you give thanks to Him. So that's another significance of that day. And again, lastly, I can say another significance is the day where you share food. While you are sharing happiness and joy, you equally share food to the poor. Definitely after that 30 days rigorous exercise, this morning before Eid, now everybody is expected to do what they call Zakatul Fitr. Zakatul Fitr is the way to say, okay, I'm not going to just enjoy this day alone. I have to extend it to the poor. So there is a compulsory act that every fasting person must take, and that is how to share food to the less privileged. So it's so significant that everybody is enjoying, it's just merrymaking all over.
In the course of celebrating, sometimes as a people find ourselves engaging or indulging in certain things. So are there like don'ts for this day? The do's and don'ts. You've talked about the expectations of what is expected, that, all Muslims should do on this day. Now, what are the things that, shouldn't be seen, on a day like this?
Yeah, mostly, this is what we used to say mostly, every act that is forbidden during Ramadan is also forbidden outside Ramadan. Every act that is acceptable during Ramadan is also acceptable after Ramadan. So it means that what you cannot do during Ramadan, in this joyous moment, you ought not to do any. For instance, saying some people now will say, oh, now there's no fasting anymore. Let's meet together with family and friends. Let's start drinking, like taking alcohol. That is very wrong. You understand? So because it is not encouraged during Ramadan, it's also not encouraged outside Ramadan. So the do's and don'ts are already there. Like Islam will say, al-haramu bayyinu wal-halalu bayyinu. Like what is good is already is clear to everyone, and what is bad is equally clear to everyone. So there is no gainsaying to say, oh, because Ramadan has gone down, you now need to start doing this one during enjoying yourself. No, enjoying yourself is just like a reward system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to say, okay, if you relax your nerves, if you enjoy yourself, you will be ready to worship and obey me. You understand? It's not like a situation whereby you just keep, like, some people look religion as there's nothing like joy, there's nothing like happiness in it. It's just rigorous worship. No. In this instance, you need to relax your nerves so that you can be ready for the job. It's like somebody has been working for you and you say, okay, today, cool down, let me celebrate some things, That person will also have more energy to continue with that job. And that is what that's the philosophy behind this too.
Okay, so what kind of lessons, does the Ramadan and also the Eid el Fitr teach Muslims?
Wow. The first lesson that Ramadan taught, and you see, when you say Ramadan has taught somebody a lesson, it means that that person has really passed through Ramadan. That person has allowed Ramadan to pass through him too. That's the only way you can learn lesson. And the first lesson you should learn is the lesson of the consciousness of Allah. Because the real purpose or benefit or reason for Ramadan is the consciousness of Allah. And when I say this consciousness means, like for instance now, you don't say, after fasting, I want to drink. If you don't have the consciousness of Allah, you will drink. So the lesson is that you must have consciousness of God. And when we say this consciousness, let me give some instances of consciousness now. If Muslims pray 5 times daily, if like 2 o'clock, for instance, Zuhr prayer, and you're supposed to pray, maybe one way or the other you're occupied somewhere and you couldn't pray, that time that you have not prayed, till the time that you will not have time to pray, you will not be at rest. Your mind will be telling you that something somewhere is missing. In that instance, you have consciousness of Allah. If, for instance, I offended you, and I was just walking and something is happening in my head, even people around me will know that I'm not looking fine, something is happening. And I say, what's happening? Look, I spoke to somebody somehow, and I really don't like the way I spoke to him. Inside you, he's telling you that you have offended somebody. That is consciousness of Allah. Maybe your parents as well. You don't need to talk to them in a particular way, and you now did. Then you cannot be able to sleep overnight until you see them and talk to them. So that consciousness of, I have done this thing wrong, I need to apologize, I need to tell this person I'm sorry, I'm not feeling at ease. That way, you will see that Ramadan has really brought that consciousness in you. Aside from that, another gain of Ramadan, and this one had to come outside Ramadan as well. Because even if in Ramadan, somebody is talking to you and wanted to offend you, they say you tell that person, I'm fasting. So after Ramadan, what will you now say? You just have to hold your emotions.
Exactly, because sometimes we see, people behave differently when it's the month of Ramadan. And when the Ramadan is over, you see entirely a different person, So in terms of preserving the virtues that we learn during the period of Ramadan, for all Muslims and indeed for all humans, how can we preserve these virtues? Because apparently these are virtues that we need even as a nation, isn't it?
Definitely. All right, thank you. Now, how to preserve this value is, what are those activities that you do in Ramadan? The first one is your fasting. There are instances, Muslims are supposed to fast Monday and Thursdays. And there's these 3 white days in the month that is fast. That's 13, 14, and 15. If you want to preserve it, it is also expedient that you keep fasting after the month of Ramadan. So for instance, if you fast on Monday, you know quite right that you also have to abstain from one thing or the other. Then maybe Tuesday you sustain it. Wednesday you are sustaining, maybe it's now reducing a little bit because you're not fasting. Thursday has come, you need to fast to also sustain it. So that's the first thing you need to do. Keep fasting even after Ramadan, but not every day. You understand? That's the first one. The second one is spiritual activities. We wake up for tahajjud during Ramadan. In the night, all night is always waking up and doing that. You need also to do that. when you continue with your tahajjud, because is like a training ground where you come out and exercise those things that you have been trained for. So when you come out of Ramadan, you also need to do tahajjud. Ramadan is called the month of the Quran. Most people have recited the Quran, they read the Quran from page to page. Some people studied it. You know, when you say just read, some people just read with lips. While some people studied the Quran from page to page during Ramadan. So it means that they should now start living the Quran after Ramadan. So when you start living the Quran, meaning that you still need to continue studying the Quran, so that one will also give you a pathway in how you relate with people after Ramadan.
Can you draw a nexus for us between, some of the religious virtues that we learn and, how we need them for national growth and development as a nation? We constantly talk about, corruption in Nigeria. We talk about insensitive killings. I mean, we are dealing with insecurity in the country right now. And we have people hiding under the guise of religion to perpetrate all sorts of evil, and all of that. So how can religion, Islam, be a tool for national growth and development?
In fact, religion is a tool for national growth and development. And, most times, I could remember a time where a prophet went to meet a king and was trying to tell the king to accept Islam. And the question the king asked him was, what is my gain? If I accept Islam, for what reason? What is my gain? So any religion that doesn't have gain for the populace, for the community, for the nation, for the country, then it's not worth worshiping or entertaining. You understand? So it means that now when we talk about virtues, when we talk about being good, this is one thing that you know quite well that you don't need to harm your neighbor. You need to share what you have. Like now, for instance, Ramadan. In Ramadan, one date, they call it dabino. You can share it for 10 people. In Ramadan, you feel free to put your hand inside your pocket and give sadaqah. In Ramadan, you have pity. You are so generous. So outside Ramadan, or if you hold a position of responsibility, either in politics or otherwise, you should know quite well that you need to share. You understand now? You need to share those goodies. You don't just take it to yourself. In Ramadan, you share those things. Outside it, you have to share as well. Outside it, you have to be generous. Outside it, you have to look at your neighbor. If your neighbor, you do iftar for people. Look at iftar. You just call people, just come and eat, come and eat. Outside Ramadan is something that you need to give out. So Ramadan has taught us the ability to give. It has given us that if you give, there's a reward for you in return. So for national peace and stability, for national growth and development, definitely the act of giving, the act of knowing that my neighbor or the responsibility of my neighbor lies upon me. So if we take that to those positions, you will see that each and every one of us will be living a life of ease and realize that things will be going well with each and every one of us.
So how should a person celebrate the day of Eid el Fitr? Like, is there a routine that one should follow?
Definitely, there are routines, there are etiquettes. The first one is when you wake up in the morning, the first thing Islam has said is just go and take your baths. Take a bath. And you see, when you say take a bath now, it's like Islam is synonymous to cleanliness. You must bath before you say you want to go to eat. Then next one is you have to eat. Make sure you eat food before you go out for Eid. Then the next one is wear the best of your clothes. Did you see this? Islam is talking about wearing best of your clothes. And it's not, this is religion. This is sunnah. It means that you must be clean and you must wear nice dress. You know, sometimes you see somebody in the name of religion wearing tattered clothes and said, no, I'm so person, I don't like this life. This is what Islam says. Wear the best of your clothes. While you are now going to eat, if your Eid is so closer to you, it's also expedient that you walk to eat. if it's so close that you can walk, it's better to walk than to drive to Eid. So if you are walking to Eid or you are only driving to Eid, that statement you keep saying, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Walillahil hamd.
Why is it better to walk?
Yeah, because the more, when you walk, for instance now, the longer you walk, the more chanting of this.
It gives you time to meditate and reflect, is it?
And reflect and keep saying this remembrance of Allah. So, but when you drive, within 2-3 minutes, you are there. You understand? So that is one. So when you get there equally, it is expedient that you get there early. You see, most people will get there late. You see, some people will be running. Some people will get to that. It's not really good. You leave your time, you leave your house as early as possible so that you can be able to meet the Eid. The khutbah is very important that you listen to the khutbah. And there's 2 nafila that you also have to attend. When you do that, you pray, you meet people. It's also part of the etiquette that you greet people. Those that you know and those that you don't know. It's talking about networking. Meet people, greet people. Oh, Assalamu alaikum, what's your name? Oh, mashallah, can I have your number? Let's talk again. Is there something we can do together? You see, this networking is also very, very important. And again, there's another one, very important again. And when you look at that importance, it's also important that the road, the path you go to Eid with, if you have alternative, don't come back from that path. Look for another path to come back from. It has securities. There's security-wise in it. There is what do you call it, social being in that. Because when you are walking, this is what you see. When you are going back and you take another route, you also see different things again. So it has a social benefit where you can interact with people living along the road. So those are the etiquettes of Yom Eid. And when you come back again, the next thing is share food with people, call family and friends, go meet them. These are very, very important aspects of this day.
All right. Now, are there other months that Muslims fast, and aside the Ramadan? And if there is, maybe just highlight some of the reasons why that is so.
Yeah, the compulsory fast in the months are in Ramadan. Compulsory. All other months you can fast, and there are different opinions on different scholars. Some, even this Shitta Shawwal, there's something called Shitta Shawwal. After the month of Ramadan, there's these 6 days that you fast in the month of Shawwal. Some scholars still say, oh, no, there's not like Shitta Shawwal. So, and since they are all voluntary, nobody will say anything on it. So when you fast, good. If you don't fast, good. But all other months, like I said, Monday, Thursday, and I said the 3 white days of every month as well. And you can say of every month. There are different days that you can equally fast, which are just voluntary. But the most one, which is compulsory upon each and every one of us, is that of Ramadan.
All right. Now let's talk about, you earlier on you mentioned, how important it is, the issues of sharing. We are living at a time where we have IDPs everywhere. In our country, people rendered homeless as a result of insecurity. How can we deal with this, perpetually, like finally? Yes, we will go to the camps and share, what we have and all of that. But beyond that, what are the expectations on government to settle people, the less privileged, people who are suffering, people in abject poverty, and all of that? What are the best ways? I know it's a bit, away from this, but if you can, find a nexus for that.
Yeah, you see, the question we kept asking ourselves is, when you mention government, those in government are religious people. And because they're religious people, they also understand those things. And I think they should use their religiosity or the understanding of their religion to now work with what they are doing. So it means that if, for instance, now you talked about IDP, and those of us that during Ramadan, we used to go to this IDP to give them food, to give them. I've seen somebody who said, when we're giving food, and you just look at this is abject poverty. Those people are really in poverty. And he was just asking himself that, after Ramadan, what next?
Exactly.
He said, after Ramadan, what next? Will they be here like this until next Ramadan? So people have started volunteering to say they want to take this act on their own. They want to take this act on their own. And when we sat down and start looking at things like this, we said, no, it's not just bringing them food. How do you now empower them so that henceforth they start earning and start giving themselves that food? But when you come, you give them food, you go. You come, you give them food, you go. How do you empower them? So people have started looking at it, and that is what Muslims, because the government can do that, that is what Muslims that have fasted now should now take upon themselves and say, those people that we are giving food like this, what do I do? Come here. What do you think you can do? Can you go to school? Can you work? Can you do this? I think those are things that you now do for them, even after Ramadan. If it is one person that you can take out of that abject poverty, one person, you will see that the trend, how that one person will equally meet with another person and meet with another person. So I think it is expedient for government and also individuals that fasted and felt it. Because now, this fasting, you are not eating, you are not drinking from sunrise to sunset, and you felt it inside you that this is what it means to be hungry. And you now see people that they don't even have means. You understand?
Yeah.
So it should touch you to say this is how you can
and you
extend
know,
it.
there's also another thing that, you know, beats my imagination. And I don't know whether this is peculiar to Nigeria, but each time there's a festivity around the corner, there's this artificial inflation that we all experience. Normally, the prices of things will just go up. And so you find that people are struggling. People are under pressure to be able to, you know, buy the things that they need to celebrate, you know, these festivities. And, you know, the Salah celebration is also one of those festivities. So what is responsible for that, and what's the best way to deal with this kind of, you know, situation?
Yeah, thank you. What I see that is the reason for this, one, I see scarcity of goods and services. Some goods, they are not even there, they are not available for people to buy. You understand? So because of that scarcity, people will now say, even if you didn't buy from me, you can't even see it elsewhere. So automatically they have to inflate the price, and people really need it. People need it. Secondly, and I think government are supposed to also work in that aspect, is the area of transporting those goods. Some are scarce, some are available, but they can't be transported to every nook and clinic of the society or the country or the nation, you know. So because they cannot be transported, or else the means of transporting them to the particular destination has even, you know, affected the price. So that's why sometimes it's also high. Why sometimes it's also greed. Sometimes it's greed. Some people really wanted profit at all means. So what I think the government and we can equally do is we should start preparing for days like this, maybe 3 months ahead, maybe 6 months ahead, to say, okay, Ramadan will be coming in the next 3 months. What are the preparations on ground? Not, oh, it's coming next tomorrow, then everyone will start rushing. I think rushing is another issue. When you see people rushing, what's happening? What's happening? Then you start inflating your prices.
Okay, now, from my understanding, there are 2 Eids celebrated in a year, right?
Yeah.
Now, the first Eid, just from what you've said, is sacrifice of food. That's the Eid El FITR.
Yeah.
What about the Eid Al Adha?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Eid al-Adha, you know, it comes as a result of Prophet Ibrahim trying to slaughter his son. You know, and he has promised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if Allah gave him a son, he's going to use that son for worship for Allah. So you can see that scenario. When he promised Allah, then Allah said, you make this promise, you are saying this, okay, let me test you. Then Allah gave him a son. Then in the process, after that, he even forgot, and maybe in a dream, he remembered that he promised Allah this thing, that he's going to use this son as a worship. Then he wanted to practice such. Then in the process, Allah now said, oh, okay, I just want to see if you can replicate what you just said. But because of this, this is a ram. Slaughter this ram in lieu of your son. Henceforth, from that time, it's now become something that we start doing. So for instance, now you can see that's why they are saying this is big Salah. It is big because if everyone starts doing what he did now. For instance, it's your son that you start killing after this one. You know, how many of us will remain? Even someone like me will not be here again. So it is so big that, oh, this is a favor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done for us. So that is just the difference. This one, you go to rigorous exercise in fasting and taking yourself, but that one is just a favor from Allah saying that, okay, this is ram for you to...
All right, now in conclusion, what is the most important thing about this day when celebrating? I'm saying this because perhaps there are people who are under pressure to do certain things. You know, perhaps their neighbor is doing so, and so they feel, oh, they too need to do this, or, you know, so their friend is doing this, and so you find that they're probably under pressure to do certain things, and they cannot afford it. So what is the most important thing that you should do this day and be at peace without, you know, putting yourself under unnecessary pressure?
Contentment. You see, contentment. You see, let me even talk about this issue of sharing that I said earlier on. Most people that are sharing also need it. Did you hear this? Most people that are sharing to people also need to be shared things too. You understand? But
so you are not sharing because you have in abundance?
No, you are not sharing because you have in abundance. So you are sharing because it is compulsory that you share. Now, for instance, if you now share, after sharing, you equally know that you needed some things too, not that you are that good. Sometimes, you know, and in the world of today, we need to look at people and say, for instance, I know people quite right, that they'll just look at you and said, can I have your account number? And they just transfer money to you. They knew quite right that you needed one way or the other to uplift yourself. So sometimes it is, and those people are so neglected in the society. I think there's a program coming on that. People that cannot say they need. They actually need, but they cannot tell you that they need anything. So it is expedient of us to start looking at people and know their need and solve their need. So if you have a neighbor that because he's living in a flat like you now think your own Zakatul Fitri must go out there to somebody that is on the road, thinking he's in a flat now, they're enjoying it. No, you need to know. Are you okay?
Don't assume.
Don't assume. Then people like that, you need to kill that pressure on them. Cool down. What's happening? I have this that I can share with you. Can you take this? Can you take this? Take it easy. Oh, look at this clothes. I don't want my family alone to do. Take. You know, you don't enjoy the Eid. What is the essence of enjoying Eid alone? You don't enjoy it alone. So your family, your neighbors, the environment, everywhere must be in the joyous mode. So if you feel it, that somebody is not enjoying it. Or for instance, this Eid, you see that there's no new clothes on this man. The next Eid, there's no new clothes on this man. Muslims are supposed to be observant. No new
So
clothes.
you don't wait until when someone comes to you to say, oh, I don't have this, or I don't have that.
In fact, in that area, we are really lacking. Most people are lacking in that area. Say, but you didn't tell me. And it's not everybody that can say it. In fact, it's part of, there are 6 categories of people that you give things to. And Allah mentioned this category as part of people that you can give. People that need and they cannot ask. And today, they are neglected in the society.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Daybreak and sharing these thoughts with us. We really appreciate, and Eid Mubarak to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure being here.
You're welcome. Well, we've been speaking with Abdulrazak Olayode, and he is an Islamic commentator, talking to us about the significance of this day, the Eid el Fitr, being celebrated across Nigeria and indeed the world over.